4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually need to double check. I actually do need to double check the episode number.
Oh, wow. Not that I know it.
Yeah, I was wrong. It's 225.
There you go.
Okay. I'm assuming we're live.
Yeah. It looks like you're just drinking a margarita out of a water bottle.
I might as well be.
Yeah.
It's just water with a little bit of leftover orange juice from this morning.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Just Monday.
It's just a Monday, guys.
It is a Monday.
It's episode 225 of The Platfomers, a show about games and nerd culture, and I am your host, Brian Barnett.
I'm Joshua Mobley.
I'm Chris Shriver.
I'm Ronny Barrier.
Well, how did you get in here?
Who let this joker in?
I snuck in. Brian thought he was inviting me to play something else, and I was like, nah, I'm on the podcast this week, bruh.
Brian was like, come play insert fighting game here with me, and you said sure.
Pretty much it.
I mean, we are definitely going to talk about at least 2 fighting games on this episode.
2?
At least 2.
Wow.
That's all I know.
One of which Ronny and I are actually going to review this week, and one Omega early day -1 impressions of a new character in another game.
Okay.
But yeah, what should we? Well, you know what? Before we dive into it, it feels so natural to just dive into it without explaining who you are, Ronny, because you and I talk all the time.
Sorry.
Natural for you, not for the audience.
It is natural. It is very natural for me because Ronny is a fantastic fellow with whom I've become quite good friends over the past few months. Yes.
Like a year?
Has it been a year? Somewhere around
like
there.
that.
Mine doesn't have a lot of meeting right now, so
no, it doesn't.
Any
Makes
amount
no
of time.
sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't at all. But please explain to our listeners and viewers where they might know you from.
Yeah, my name's Ronny Barrier. Like I said, I'm a gameplay producer at IGN. So a lot of gameplay capture, helping with guide videos and features and things like that, and occasionally, jumping in on podcasts. Very exciting stuff.
Very cool.
Heck yeah. He's very good.
If anyone knows the hardships you go through, I did that exact job.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's
People,
hard to complain because it's an awesome job, but it's still a job.
People are always like, "Oh, you play video games for work," and I'm like, "It's terrible. You don't want to do it."
You know this thing that you love to do?
Yeah, you're gonna hate it. Yeah.
I've started telling people I just work in media, and if they ask other questions, I kind of start explaining. But if I just say, "Oh, I work in video games," they're like, "Oh, what do you make?"
Yeah, and they're like, "Well, nothing." But
of value, still nothing. No.
Still nothing.
Jeez.
They're like, I made a video once that was like top 5 epic something in game X.
I did that. I've made many of those.
Yeah.
I just made two pages on the best legendary Ash summons and legendary spells, and best spells and best weapons in Elden Ring. So that's what I've been up to.
I was like, how long are we gonna get into this one before
Elden Ring comes up
again?
Yeah.
It's literally my job. What do you want me to say?
I know.
But even so, like it is definitely one of those things. I've thought about this and I'm like, I don't know that I'm gonna work on a guide for a FromSoft game again, because it's got to
be ruining it for you.
It's not. There are a lot. I've been very lucky. There are a lot of games that I've written guides for that like I would still go back and play again. Hollow Knight's one of them.
Oh wow!
I had to 100% Hollow Knight to write the guide for it for IGN, and afterwards I was like, you know what?
You know what I can do?
Game rips, and I would go play it again.
It rips, but does it rip ass?
It does rip ass.
As someone who was stuck in the Philadelphia airport for about 6 hours this past week due to some fuckery from United Airlines.
Fuckery.
United Airlines fuckery.
Yeah, I
was thinking, how's this going to be Hollow Knight related? It just went in a different direction.
I can confirm that Hollow Knight rips ass because that's all I did.
We had a discussion about what he was going to play on his
On my trip.
trip, and I was like, out of all the things that you picked, there's at least 110 for me on that list, and one that's Hollow Knight.
Yep.
The game is awesome. But yeah, so man, so much to talk about. We got a lot of stuff going on. Where do we want to start?
There is a question from Harry in the chat.
Oh, Harry.
Harry wants to know, is one of the fighting games that we're going to be talking about Will versus Rock?
No. Can we please not talk
We're not talking about it. That's literally all that's on social media.
God. Yeah, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
I will say, some of the memes are real good.
Some of the memes are real good. I do want to point out, he has apologized publicly. If you have not seen it, it is on his Instagram. It's very... yeah,
my thing was like, as if I couldn't hate the Oscars even more.
Yeah,
I have to deal with all this.
Yeah.
Did you watch Coda, Josh?
No, I actually don't know what that is. The only Academy Award movies that I watched were Dune, and I watched Belfast, which I liked a lot, but I haven't watched any of the others. I almost was gonna watch Drive My Car, I think is one of the other ones. One like best foreign film or something like that. I was gonna watch it one day, and then I saw that it was like 3 hours, and I was like, I do not have the mental energy for a 3-hour movie right now. And then I haven't watched any of the other ones that got nominated. So
yeah.
But highly recommend Dune, and also highly recommend Belfast, because I've seen both of those and they're very good.
Yeah, I want to watch Dune, but part of me is like, I'm not going to read these books. And I don't really want to watch a movie that has a cliffhanger ending and then wait like however long we have to wait.
Part 2's next year.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could just read the book, but I actually think, Brian, you will like the universe of Dune, because it's so fucking weird.
It is very weird.
I know that you're into that kind of shit. I'm into it. I have right here.
It's one of Hans Zimmer's best scores as well, but
yeah, he won for it. So.
Yeah, there was a moment.
Saying a lot.
Yeah, there was a moment on the way to New Orleans on the flight where we heard from behind us this like, and like it sounded like something was wrong with the plane. Like we had already been in the air for a while, and I had this moment of like, oh shit, what was that? And I turned around, and this dude dropped his copy of Dune in paperback just on the floor. We're
it's
like,
a big one.
That explains it.
What's funny is like none of the other books are as long as the first one.
Yeah.
But the first book is like 3 books smashed together, but it's the same story. But that shit's so wild. I really just hope that they at least make it to the second book, because I fucking love the second book. Some people are like, it's so weird, because I meet people that are like, I only like the first half of the first book, and then I've met people that are like, the first book's the only good one. And then there's a lot of people like me who are like, everything up to 4 is good. After that, just ignore it. And then there's people that like all of it, but like, god damn, I love that second book. I really hope they end up making a movie out of that. But if they at least finish this, which they are, I'm super happy they're finishing this. If they can at least finish that first book, I'll be a happy boy. The rest is just gravy on top of the sandwich, right?
Nice.
What kind of gravy sandwiches are you eating,
An
Josh?
open-faced turkey sandwich, Brian.
An
Sounds
open-faced
great to me. I don't know
sandwich.
what Brian's problem is.
Yeah, open-faced
That's
turkey
kind of
sandwiches
fantastic.
are delicious.
Look, I'm trying to come down a bit, guys. Don't tempt me with this open-faced gravy sandwich.
It's not a gravy
You can't have just a gravy sandwich.
Don't
That's just
tempt me with a
bread
good
with
time.
gravy on it, or toast
Yeah.
with gravy on it.
It's like all of the Thanksgiving ingredients on top of a piece of bread, and then
So-
they pour gravy over it. That's an open-faced turkey sandwich.
We have a sandwich for this in the Northeast at Wawa.
You got your bread, you got your turkey, you got your mashed potatoes, you got your sweet potatoes, you got your let's see, what else?
Cranberry sauce and stuffing.
sauce,
It's called the
Cranberry
Gobbler.
sauce.
stuffing.
It's
Yeah.
called the Gobbler.
It's called the
Chris?
Gobbler, and they sell it at
Yeah.
Wawa at Thanksgiving time. Like this is
They-
a real thing.
I've run into
Son of a
other
bitch.
places.
You and all
that have...
you and all the people like you, Chris. How dare you?
I don't eat
I've
it.
run into- well, Chris, like that's also I've run into some sandwich places that have like something like that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, it's mashed potatoes and gravy and turkey and like stuffing and stuff on a sandwich.
Yeah, it's
I have to assume there's something here like that. I don't know anything about this. I don't know if Ronnie knows anything about this, but Texas seems like it wouldn't take that sort of a challenge lying down.
No.
Ronnie, what area are you in?
I'm about half an hour south of Bryan. I'm in Houston.
Oh shit!
Bryan the person, not Bryan the city. That's a different thing.
Oh,
there's really
I
a
wouldn't
city
have
called
known.
Bryan?
It's very confusing.
I wouldn't have known that either.
It's right next to A&M.
Oh wow, very
Yeah.
cool.
It's
So I
very
was
cool.
5 hours away from you as well the other day.
Yeah.
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 I at one point I remember, I think when I was flying to Florida for Star Wars Celebration, I was at like Houston Airport or something, and Brian was like, "You're only like 20 minutes from me," but I was like, if my layover was longer, I'd be like, "Come on by," but I was only there for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the only thing I could think is when I looked outside and saw just the flat horizon, I was like, what a weird place. That was my only comment on seeing Texas, because at California, Brian knows, you lived here for a while. It's hills like everywhere. It's just hills and shit everywhere. So I'm not used to just
in Northern California. In Southern California, where I grew up, it's pretty flat too.
Yeah, it's more flat, but there are still some hills in the distance. But like
For
here,
sure, and there's tons of like you can see the mountains.
But when we went to
where I live,
Texas, my wife and I were like, "There's nothing. It's just flat. Like
there's nothing.
There's nothing there. What's going on?"
This is
we all
America's
weird.
table.
That's very true. I grew up in
weird.
this area, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I was there for about 9 months. And then I went to Nashville for about 2 years, and then I came back here. So I went from like flat to hills to mountains, back to flat, and I'd still have a headache. It was
Next,
a
you'll
lot.
be underwater.
if I want to move to New Orleans, that's the next place to go.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
But
trying to move to the French Quarter because apparently everything else floods, or you get hit by a tornado.
I have a
I
friend.
mean,
who
that
just
happens
moved
here
there.
too.
Yeah.
Like it
We had
wasn't
a-
very far. Like
We had a tornado warning like in our city, in League City, the other night. My dad called me. He's like, "Are y'all under your bathtub with a mattress?" I'm like, no, we're fine. We're good.
yeah, we had one up here as well.
Yeah.
So, but this is
Anyway,
at least
video
nominally
games.
a video games and
Yeah.
nerd culture podcast.
anyway,
Tornado
video game.
chasing.
I guess tornadoes are nerd culture.
Are they?
Somebody's a nerd
nerdy-
for them.
This nerdy weather formation,
Yeah.
Sure, yeah,
What a
sure. I
dork.
guess if you're
whirling around, picking
watching
up stuff.
Weather Channel all
Look
the
at
time,
you with
like
your
a huge
Doppler
dork.
radar, you nerd.
Yeah,
Go check the flux capacitor. I don't know.
I
Yeah,
majored in
go check the-
meteorology.
Go check the air pressure levels.
The barometric pressure, yeah.
There you go.
That's what I
Whatever
wanted.
that is. See,
Barometer.
Brian knows because he's a dork.
What
Because I'm a fucking
what a
dork.
loser.
Nerd.
Oh man, it's good to be back, you guys. It's good to
Yeah,
be
we
back.
weren't
I
even
finally
gone
had
that
a
long.
weekend. I finally had a weekend, so it feels like
Oh
forever.
yeah. You had a weekend. That's good. I'm glad
I
you
had a-
had one.
I
It
will
wasn't
never.
just,
I will never not have a weekend again.
Nice.
I'm telling you.
Well,
this.
that's not true.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, we'll see if I can make that true. But
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure that I always have a weekend.
Yeah, it's a good thing to
Man, I
have
was-
some time off.
It was brutal. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So what do we want to talk about? I know that that Ronnie and I need to talk about Persona 4 Arena Ultimax and Guilty Gear. And then I guess we can talk about. I can briefly talk about Young Souls and The Great Hero and the Cruel King, and then whatever you guys brought.
Is Young Souls that one that's on Game Pass?
Yes.
Or am I thinking of something else? Okay.
I mean,
I'm
there's
interested
also
in hearing about
Tunic
that at
is
some
new
point.
and is on Game Pass.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I played a good amount of it.
Yeah, so we can start wherever you guys want. And I don't know what I know Josh said he's bringing Tunic. Chris, did you want to talk about Hollow Knight at all during the show?
I would like to. I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring. I'm googling what Young Souls is.
For sure.
I would like to talk about Hollow Knight and my experience with like a Souls-like game for. Well, I was gonna say more than 6 hours, but that's about as much as I played Demon Souls, and I fucking hate that game. So, yeah.
And then I didn't know, Ronnie, if you wanted to talk about anything else besides Persona, but then we can kind of take our pick and go where we wish.
I played about the first hour of Tunic, or so. I want to get back to it. I just haven't had time because I got to clean out my garage Speaking of owning a house,
Heyo.
Yeah, house stuff. It never ends.
it really doesn't. Actually,
never
sorry.
ends.
Quick digression from tornado chasing to video games back to home ownership. I told my brother who bought a house a few years ago, I was like, man, I feel like I can't relax anymore until I get everything done. And he was like, you will never get everything done.
You got to just be like, I'm not doing that today.
You know what I did today?
Yeah.
I spent like a good 2 hours of my day doing. I would go into the bathroom. I filled a spray bottle with 30% acidity vinegar, and I just sprayed that shit on the glass door over and over again, just trying to get all those little calcium spots. And then I'd almost pass out, and I'd get out of there, and I'd do it over again.
Yeah. I woke up at 6 a.m. to my dog hurling yesterday, so that's what I've been.
That's never fun.
Wow, I didn't know your dog was getting into sports. That's awesome.
Oh my god.
I'm
We
sorry.
want to support him however we can.
You guys, come on. You guys know me. You've known me for how many years? You knew I
He's
was
never, he's never going to get to go to the Olympics, but he doesn't need to know that.
Was it just the one time, or is he doing it constantly?
We sorry, I don't want to take too long, but he's a corgi, so he sheds like crazy.
Oh,
and
sure.
we just moved back down here to Houston, where it rapidly climbs temperatures, and so it's like allergies plus shedding. I think he's just like eating a lot of his own hair accidentally, and that's all it is. But we're just trying to manage his allergies. So he's got the funny cone right now. I'd bring him in here right now.
The cone of shame.
The funny
He's
cone.
got the cone of shame, and we've got some aloe vera for him. And we just have to keep watching him because he's gonna
Poor corgi.
Poor
go
guy.
to town.
Yeah.
He's doing better, but it's been an interesting few days to be sure. So Tunic,
it always is.
sorry.
Yeah.
I've been playing Tunic. Kara, my wife and I have been playing. Going through all the Danganronpa games.
Nice.
So we are 3/4-ish of the way through the second one, and that's pretty much all I've had time to play. Fighting games and stuff for work.
Yeah.
A lot of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. We could talk about that. Because I've been doing that for work as well. But I'm like about halfway through that game
Nice.
or so.
Nice.
See, I thought it was like an expansion, but I guess not.
So there
Nope.
was
Yeah.
an expansion, wasn't there?
Well, there
Yes.
was,
So-
but I thought it was another one. But...
Yeah, so Borderlands 2, it was Assault on Dragon Keep, and
That
it was
was
kind of the proof of concept thing. And then they made it into a full
It was
game.
good too.
It was good, and I
liked
think
it a
this
lot.
game is hot take better than Borderlands 3. But
I
we
mean,
can get to that later.
Brian and I talked extensively about Borderlands 3 and how we were kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I did a lot of guide work for Borderlands 3, and as I love Borderlands 2. Famously, I 100%ed Borderlands 2 3 times. Once, actually, maybe
We
more
talked
than
about
that.
this. You have the platinum on Vita, which like hardly anyone has.
Yep, I have it.
Yeah.
I think I did it on PS3 and PS4 via the Handsome Collection, and I think 360 and Xbox One and Vita. I might actually have the
My
platinum
God.
or 100%.
You
like
do.
maybe 5 times.
We took a good 10 minutes one time to check all that.
yeah.
Did that entire conversation happen during one like driving segment in that game, or how did that work? Sorry, I thought that was funny.
I got a good little chuckle.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
I
I
got
need that
Chris. He's
sometime.
the one you need to please the most.
it's true.
Good to know.
He's the most wholesome amongst us. Man, speaking of a haul, have you guys seen this is a total new tangent. Have you guys seen the Minnie Mouse shorts on Disney Plus?
I've seen
the
some of
hand-drawn
Mi-
ones.
I've seen some of
They
the,
look
the
like Ren
Mickey
and
ones.
Stimpy, yeah.
Yeah, they're funny. They're
Yeah.
great.
They're really good. They're like 5 minutes long a piece. They're dope.
Yeah.
That's
The,
where that. Go ahead. I know exactly what you're about to say.
What happened?
Yeah. What happened?
Dude, for an entire like when we were at D23, I think in 2019, oh my god, that was like the meme of the trip. Everybody, like if we needed to find friends in a group, we just be like, what? Like screaming it. That's like
See-
my server that has all my like real life friends on it, which I think you guys are on too. Like that's where that icon came from. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh." It's a whole thing.
It's really, really good. I love and a lot of it just makes no sense at all. Like when he buys
Doesn't need to.
Minnie a hot dog, and then the hot dog runs away.
Oh
and
yeah.
he tries to get it
Been
back.
there.
It's awesome.
You're
Anyway.
like right on.
Been
Anyway,
there.
it's dope. If you've got Disney Plus, there's a lot of other stuff, but look up the Minnie Mouse or the Mickey Mouse like adventures or whatever. They're 5 minutes. They're
They're
super
good.
dope.
Yeah, they're very
They're
fun.
set all over the world. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, what game do we want to start with?
Why don't you talk about your fighting games?
Why don't you get your little baby?
Get
fighting
Get
games
your
out of the way?
stick slapping out of the way.
I would never say
The
that.
nonsense out of here.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
well,
like some fighting games. Just
Me too.
It's not a genre I'm like super invested in.
well, spoiler alert, I like both of the games that we're going to talk about today. So Ronnie, let's knock out the super quick thing, which is Testament came to Guilty Gear today. For season pass holders. They come out tomorrow, I think. The 30th? No, 2 days from now.
31st.
3 days from now.
Yeah.
So they come out 3 days from now for people who are just buying them separately and don't have the season pass. And I've played a little bit with them. They seem pretty interesting. They're really changed from their previous incarnation, which I think last time they were in a game was in Accent Core Plus R.
Yeah, I don't know if Plus R was the first one, but I know it's the Accent Core tree of games.
Yeah.
I came to the series in Xrd, so...
Yeah, I started... The first Guilty Gear I ever played was Plus R on PSP. And then I played a little bit of Xrd. Both of those games incredibly casually. Strive is the first Guilty Gear game that I've like really sunk my teeth into and properly learned. And so it's been really interesting revisiting this character that everybody was saying is just absolutely busted in the previous game. And Ronnie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad all the invisible traps are gone. I know that was a big issue in Plus R that people hated fighting Testament just because a trap would show up on the screen and then disappear. And so if you were fighting Testament, you had to just figure out where they were and then remember and then get pushed into the corner.
That added like a whole different mental load.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if it was just our friend Will or someone else who said it first, but kind of an old adage of Guilty Gear is that every character is playing their own fighting game. And so Strive has kind of toned that down a bit, but especially in the Plus R days, that was very true. Every character was crazy. But Testament, like most Strive characters, seems pretty toned down in terms of the insane stuff. Still super huge like normals across the screen. So
they have a giant scythe. I don't know if you guys saw this. They're wearing like a very slimming kind of black leather robe with a top hat and a giant scythe, and they've got two little kind of succubus little fairy looking creatures and then a crow. And they have these giant blood skulls that they can throw across the screen that will then leave the little succubus enemy, and then you can shoot the crow at the succubus. And you can use that to like wall off different parts of the screen or cause them to attack from, wherever. You can also warp to the succubuses or feint a warp. So there's like a lot of weird stuff that you can do with this character. In addition to having an absolutely enormous scythe that cuts off, like I think you said, like the standing slash move is like 2/3 of the screen. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I actually said that in our fighting game Discord earlier, but I kept stepping back and using her, forward heavy slash move, and I think I just kept going back and back and back and back. It just kept hitting every time. So it was kind of like the Nagoriyuki, big samurai dude. Kind of that same range from what I could see. I don't know. It's probably not going to be nearly as busted as Nagoriyuki, but just really big normals, some crazy mix-up stuff. And I've only spent about an hour playing today. But from what I can tell, it seems like it'd be pretty fun to dive into.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that. But obviously, it's not really, we're not really going to shake out what they're all about and what their true potential is until way later. But it's really fun to get like a nice steady drip of new content for this game that's super fun and immensely playable online. And now we know, we've got a season 2. There's going to be 4 new characters coming and a couple of different stages and stuff. And we already know that there's going to be a big tournament coming up as well.
Have you messed with the figurine mode at all yet?
I have not.
It's actually pretty cool. I don't know. You might have to unlock some more things through the fishing. That's kind of the mechanic in the game that you do to unlock different songs or different things like that in the game. But you can just go into a bunch of different scenes and place all the different characters, pose the characters, add different effects, things like that. So it's just a bunch of dumb motion comic stuff that people are going to be making. It's great for me because I have to make thumbnails for work. But other than that, it's just some dumb fun to jump into, and there's going to be a lot of Twitter shenanigans. Do y'all follow Sakurai, who made Smash Brothers? Masahiro Sakurai.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, you know how he does all the dumb vignettes every day.
I love him.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, just different ways to tell dumb stories. So I'm excited to jump into that and kind of see what's up to. It's not going to be anything groundbreaking, I don't think, but a fun distraction at least. Yeah.
Yep. That's cool. And then, lo and behold, one of my promises, one of my wishes, my desperate pleas in my spirit has been fulfilled. And Ronny and I have been playing Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on PC. No longer locked to the arcades and the PlayStation 3. It's a real game again. And it's so good.
It was always a real game. It was just hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
It's like saying all these Sega CD games aren't real games.
I mean, if you can't realistically play it on a modern platform, is it real?
Yes. You know,
if a game falls in the forest
and no one's around to play it, is it real?
Something like that.
If a dump truck full of ET cartridges is buried in the desert, is it real?
It is. It was real.
They found them.
New Mexico.
It saved that town from like bankruptcy or something. Pretty sure, because they sold a bunch of them.
Yeah, but anyway, it's really good. There's a few technical quirks like Elden Ring. It
very
feels
similar
like
games.
The port is a little weird. I think yes, not similar games at all, but I think like the fact that they are generally extremely good, but there are some like inscrutable quirks in their PC ports. I think, that's kind of what it reminded me of, because there's a weird I have a weird like inability to go into like borderless full screen at a bunch of different resolutions. It'll just have it like 3/4 off the screen. There's some weird issues where Ronny and Mitch were getting like just randomly booted from our multiplayer sessions.
If you like Alt Tab when you're in the multiplayer lobby, it just crashes the game.
It's like you don't want to do anything else other than this right now, so you must be trying to leave.
Yeah,
it held us hostage, but I couldn't even get in at first. Me and Brian were supposed to play the day it came out, and my wife had to use this area back here, so I couldn't really play in here because I was going to be loud. And so I went out into the living room and used my laptop, which is a 144 hertz screen. And apparently, because it was something above 1080/60, the game just crashes on startup every time.
Oh,
that's not great.
That's not great. Yeah, tons of people have way more than 60 hertz monitors.
So I don't know if this has been resolved or anything, but at least the first day, I know it wasn't just me. I Googled it. There was a huge forum. Everyone was having this issue. If it was anything, you had to launch it on like a 1080/60 screen and then change the settings, and then you could play it just fine, but it wouldn't open correctly.
That's not great.
So, it's the weird legacy stuff of this is an older game that's being ported over.
Yeah.
And it was originally designed for PS3, which is like has, of course we know that like
weird
porting PS3 games is like very weird because of the cell architecture and all that.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, I haven't had like, other than the alt tabbing, basically removing the existence of our like multiplayer lobby, and not being able to get the resolution scaling on windowed mode to work properly, I haven't had any issues. I've had no crashes. I've never been booted from multiplayer or anything like that, other than that one alt tab and resolution thing. So it's not, the issues are definitely there and are definitely prevalent, but they're not universal either, which is so weird because I'm also playing on a 144 hertz monitor.
Well, I was going to say, like, it's PC, so like anything could happen, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's always a little weird. Everybody has such different hardware.
With those like kind of caveats put out there, this game feels incredibly good to play, and on PC, the rollback netcode isn't even in, and it still feels awesome. Like I was playing with Mitch.
Are they putting it in?
Yes,
this summer.
it's coming in the summer. And we were playing. Ronnie and I, obviously, we live in the same city, not very far away from each other. So our connection, even in other games that don't necessarily have good netcode like Dragon Ball Fighters, is still pretty good, if not great. But this feels really, really good. And we were both playing with Mitch in California, and it still felt really good to me. I don't know, Ronnie, how it felt to you.
Yeah, it felt great to me. I mean, it's always hard fighting Mitch.
I mean, yeah, fighting Mitch brings its own problems, being the expert that he is. But at least the connection was good. So yeah, and I can't imagine when the netcode gets even better. But I will note that I got a key from our friends over there, and it's already been patched, I think 2 or 3 times. So it seems like this isn't just something they're gonna put out and kind of neglect or ignore. We already know that the netcode update is coming. So I have to believe that they'll kind of polish it up a little bit before too long. Fingers crossed.
Did they improve the visuals, like almost with that kind of look that like Dragon Ball Fighters has, or is it a little more like that game had a little bit of a grain to it because it was on PS3?
Yeah.
Like, does it still look like that, or is it a little cleaner to look at?
To me, it looks really good. I think they did up-res it. I don't know how much they updated the art. It is still 2D sprite work, unlike Strive, which is like faux 2D from 3D models.
Right.
Which is why they can, zoom in and rotate and stuff like that. It is still 2D sprite work, but it's beautiful.
Okay.
For a game that came out on PS3, and I have a lot of love for those characters already, being a big fan of the series, but the UI is a little weak, I'll say. UI doesn't look great, but that's more of a usability thing for me than it is a art thing.
Yeah.
You mean like the menus and stuff? Because I love the style of it.
The menus are great. Like the in-game UI, I think it's something I mentioned to you while we were playing. Like in Strive, when you have a certain amount of meter that you can spend, it'll light up underneath you. So I can not be looking directly at like my resources at the bottom of the screen and know that I have something I can use. I've got to constantly be looking down right now. And part of that is just I'm not used to the systems yet as much. And so I can't remember what takes 25 and what takes 50, what takes 75 meter, and that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I never really know what I'm able to do, and it's kind of hard to keep track of it, but I'm sure that'll just come with time as well.
Yeah. There are some like quality of life things they could do like that. What I really love about it is, and this is something that Strive is kind of lacking in my opinion, is just the style of it. I mean, everybody, people playing Persona 5, like the menus and everything have so much style. There's so much aesthetic appeal to what's going on as you're navigating the menus and things like this. And I definitely feel like that's the case with this also. Like when you get down to, whatever health breakpoint that you get to, and then you awaken, there's like this huge, like stylish splash of your character's eyes as they're awakening. And then your meter expands and you have like, you go from having 100 meter maximum to 150 meter maximum. You can do more stuff. And like when you burst, when you do one more, like all that sort of stuff. Like I kind of like how that's designed with the character portraits facing each other on the side, how everything's kind of angled. Like I love the layout of it. I do think that there are some things that could like be kind of signposted a little bit better, but generally I really love how flashy it is. And that was something that between playing this game and between playing Guilty Gear Xrd, I'm really kind of bummed out that that Daisuke and the team over at Arc System Works didn't bring back that like heavy metal chains aesthetic from Xrd into Strive. I know that was a very purposeful omission, but I was kind of like lamenting that because these other games I'm playing are just like so their own thing. Like they've just got this aesthetic style that they're going for, and I like that a lot. I feel like it gives the game a lot more character.
I would say that is very true of UX design. Like I'm a little bit of a UI snob, I like to say, but I think that a UI can give a game a lot of like personality, which I think we'll talk about when we get to Tunic, actually.
Oh, a teaser.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm having a great time with it. It is funny though because I am playing the villain of the game, and all three of the people, two of the people that I'm currently playing the game with, and one who's thinking about picking it up, are all playing the same character.
So you've just gotten really good at fighting that one character.
I mean, really good. I'm working on it. So I play Minazuki, which is a character that was created for this game, and Ronnie's been playing Akihiko Sonata from Persona 3, who's
Nice.
the boxer. Super cool.
It's a little bit, I think, weighted in my favor right now. I would say Minazuka is probably easier to play, but at the same time, I'm playing a boxer character, and they're kind of traditionally the more rushdown characters. And so it's kind of hard when you're learning a game to play against someone who has like a almost full screen command dash into like 25% of your health in the corner. So that's a little bit rough on Brian right now, but if I were really pulling my punches, he wouldn't appreciate that. So
Sure.
I'm doing it for you, buddy.
It's true. And I still win. So, but yeah, I'm really,
buddy.
I'm really
One day.
I'm really excited
Hubris.
to play more.
Do you
It's
see
a lot of fun.
do you see yourself picking it up on Switch? Like, is this going to be the new like Dragon Ball where like you're playing it everywhere, or is it really just like if people are down to clown on PC, you'll play it?
Brown.
I don't think this is going to. Dragon Ball's a little bit different because I think it demands more of you. I don't think Persona asks as much of people as they might think. I'm curious to know what Ronnie thinks, but this feels a lot more approachable and kind of, I don't know if I would say beginner friendly.
I mean, Dragon Ball is pretty beginner friendly.
Yeah.
It is beginner friendly, but you have to learn 3 characters. And Guilty Gear, you have to learn all the matchups with all the characters. And with Persona, that's not really the case.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot to learn. It's a 4-button fighting game instead of a lot of these other ones that are, like, I guess it's Dragon Ball.
Million buttons.
4-button? Well, it's typically like a 4-button or a 6-button.
Like Street Fighter, which I think is 6, right?
Street Fighter 6 button.
Yeah.
And Guilty Gear is at least 5, right?
Yeah, Guilty Gear's 5.
Yeah. But I feel like while there are like situational things that you need to learn, there aren't that many of them and in Persona. And I feel like the stuff that you need to learn is fairly basic, and it's a lot about fundamentals and footsies and things like that. There are technical things, but like to get in and get going, like I feel like there's not a lot that you need to know. And there's auto combo in this game, so it's I don't know. What do you think, Ronnie?
I'll push back against that a little bit for the sake of conversation. I'm having a harder time, I think, understanding the systems in Persona than I was in Dragon Ball. I think. I feel like Persona has a lot more unique mechanics. Like you actually have status effects you can inflict on other characters.
That's true.
Like panic or fear or paralyze or things like that.
Poison. Yeah.
Yeah, there's shadow versions of every character that play slightly differently. You have to learn how to handle your persona, which is kind of a separate character at the same time, kind of like an assist like Dragon Ball. And actually, there was one of my favorite fighting game content creators. His name is Lord Knight. I don't know if Brian's brought him up before. He put a video up today. I haven't.
He's also one of my favorite content creators.
Yeah. There's something called the persona displacement system that they don't even really talk about in the game.
Yeah.
But like as you send a persona out, you can have them do another move, and they'll do the move from that location rather than the one where they would usually spawn behind you and do it. And the game doesn't really tell you that. And so you've got 2 buttons for attack and then 2 buttons for persona attacks. And depending on which order and like where you throw them out, they could do something in different areas. And so it was kind of managing 2 different sides of the screen at the same time if you're playing particular characters. And there are a lot of strange quirks like that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, which is why I'm playing a character that barely uses his persona, because that's much easier.
Yeah.
Just keep punching Brian in the face.
And the great thing about this game is there are enough characters that are on like that sliding scale. Like Akihiko only has 2 persona cards. So when you call your persona, if somebody hits them, it breaks the persona card. And then after all of the persona cards are broken, your persona can't be called until those cards refill, which doesn't take too long, but it does take a little bit. And there are characters that are way more dependent on their personas than others. Like Akihiko doesn't really need his that much. He can do his special moves. He can do some super moves. He's got a really huge like jumping slash attack that he can do. That's great from his persona. My character also doesn't super need his persona that much. I needed to do like my teleport attack, and I needed to do like some like sweeping attacks, or I can call my persona like behind somebody, and then if they're trying to run away from me, then it'll catch them. But like other than that, like I've got 2 swords that I can use to like keep people at bay until my cards come back. There are other characters that like have very minimal like attacks that they can do without their personas, but their personas are like the thing that's great for them. So if you break them, it totally hobbles them until they come back. But they have like 5 or 6 persona cards. So I really like it because you can really pick, like with Guilty Gear, you can really pick a character that kind of speaks to what you want to do and how involved with those systems you want to be, which I like. So I do agree with what you said. There are status ailments. There are like awakening specific combos and like supers that only become available once you awaken. And there's like a bunch of weird stuff you can do, like air turns. Like there's a lot of weird stuff in there if you want to get into it. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like unless you're like really going ham on this game, like you don't really need to do a lot of that stuff. Whereas like in Guilty Gear, it feels like if you start playing as Kai and you go up against a Zato and you don't know what that character can do, you're just going to get destroyed. And I don't necessarily feel like the knowledge checks are too bad in this game. I don't know.
See that?
Maybe I'm wrong. But
it's probably too early for me to say, but you could definitely be right on that front.
Yeah. And I definitely, I mean, I'm very used to this game because I played actually Ultimax when it first came out, and I played P4A as well. Not at like a high level. So this is actually probably the best people that I've been fighting are, Ronny and Mitch. Hey!
That's me.
But yeah, I love it. And I think that if you're at all interested in fighting games and you like the Persona series, this is a really cool fighting game to get in on. It's not that much. I think it's like $40.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It runs really well. The netcode is really good. It's fairly easy to find your friends online, to very easy. And once you get in, like you can just set up, you can just be like, okay, it's gonna rotate through. We're gonna set the loser to rotate out, and that all happens automatically. If you want to pass, you just hit Y or triangle, and then it just shifts the next person up into the order. It's really convenient.
It's actually $30.
Oh, it's $30.
30.
Oh, yeah.
Even better.
Even better. Yeah, it looks good.
Have you done any of the story yet, Brian?
I played through all the story when it first came out, so
okay.
I haven't.
It's a continuation of the original P4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all a visual novel, I think. So it's not like let's shoehorn fights in the middle of this. It's just a straight visual novel, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, I don't remember about
two playable characters have seen each other. Now we must fight.
I know. Yeah, I know that's what they eventually ended up doing with BlazBlue, and I know that they also did that with Guilty Gear. I can't remember if Ultimax is that way though.
I can tell you the Persona dancing games do that.
Yeah.
Good games.
Yeah, very good games.
I saw you from across a crowded room. Dance off, bro.
That's how I met Brian.
That's true. We had a dance off.
It's just like West Side Story.
It was a tie. It was crazy. They'd never had a tie before.
Never in the history of dancing.
Never in the history of dance-offs.
offs.
That's when I knew that Ronny and I would be fast friends. We have exactly the same level of skill in dancing. And everybody knows, if there's one thing you know about me, it's that I hate everyone who is better dancer than I am or not as good at dancing as I am.
Wow.
It's in his Twitter bio. Look it up.
It is. It's true.
Yeah.
Is it really?
No, it is. It definitely is. But yeah, that's what I got to say about Guilty Gear and Persona 4 Arena. Shall we go to Hollow Knight next, or shall we go to Tunic next?
Let's go to Tunic, because I am probably going to start playing that soon.
All right.
I'll start playing it right when it leaves the conversation.
Okay.
Right when nobody cares about it.
Right when everyone stopped talking about it. That's when I'll dive in.
Ronny, how much of it have you played? I forget.
Just about an hour.
Okay. I played like a good 4 or 5, which is a good amount of the game. I think I looked it up on how long to beat, and it's about 12 hours, which is a little longer than actually I was expecting. But
and I beat the first boss back when it was beta.
yeah,
So-
cool.
I'm curious
Anyway,
to hear how it's progressed.
I like it a lot. It's hard to talk about the game because like so much of it I feel like is very much like you figuring out what to do, that I feel like saying certain things sort of spoils it. But I don't know if you feel the same way, Ronnie. I feel like every time I've talked to someone about the game, I'm like, I don't want to say too much because I feel like saying anything is kind of ruining a little bit of the experience.
Yeah. I will say that anything I can say, like I said, can only come from the first hour, so it wouldn't be spoiling too much. It's just like first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a big top level of what the game is first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
would you do that?
basically a Zelda game. Like it's almost like if I don't know if you'll feel this way, Ronnie, but to me it feels like if what's the one on SNES? A Link to the Past. It's like if A Link to the Past had like Dark Souls like things like sprinkled in it almost.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say Link to the Past with a bunch of hidden areas, but that's kind of just Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do a lot of stuff with perspective. I say they. It was designed by one person, wasn't it?
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do a lot of stuff with perspective in terms of if you were able to see like just 1 inch to the left, there's this whole secret area you can go back into. A lot of stuff hidden in grass, things like that. It encourages a lot of exploration both in mechanics and in the world. And a big thing about that is you pick up different pieces of like an instruction booklet, what looks like an old NES or SNES instruction booklet, and they're untranslated into I believe
Whatever-
it's just a made-up language for the series.
Whatever the made up language is, which
Yeah.
is, I think this is my favorite part of the game, honestly, is picking up the manual pieces, because at first it's like the first couple pages you get, you're like, I don't see how this is really helpful, even though it's cute. And then you start to realize that they are like the most helpful thing in the entire game.
Yeah. Like
They,
teaching
like-
you like vital mechanics.
Yeah, they teach you
The game.
mechanics. Some of the pages have like written in pen on them, or like how to get achievements, and like other random things. Like it keeps track of a lot of stuff, and it's also just like really adorable to look at.
It's kind of a mix. This is a strange combination of games, but think of a mix between like Hyper Light Drifter and Fez.
I was gonna bring up
Oh, wow.
Fez.
Yeah,
Um,
the music sounds a lot like Fez for sure.
Well, it's
It's
the
very
yeah.
chill.
So the music is Disaster Piece. It's the same
Oh, it is. It
composer.
is.
Yeah.
Didn't Disaster Piece do Hyper Light Drifter?
Yes.
So I believe
I'll
did
look
all
it up.
3 of these.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah.
look that up.
That would make a lot of sense.
I listen to a lot of that during the day.
Yeah. As you should. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very good focusing music, but
it's a very chill soundtrack.
shit. What was I gonna say? I forget. Keep going.
Yeah, they did it.
They did the needful.
Anyway, yes, the manual is like super cool. It almost feels like you're playing like a weird like a cartridge of like Link to the Past that was imported over, and you don't know Japanese. And so you have to kind of just like look at things, and some of the stuff in the manual happens to be in English, but most of it isn't. And so you have to like look at things and use context clues and stuff and just like try things. Like a lot of times when I would get an item, I would just use it because like it might tell you what it is in the manual. Like it'll say like, you know, this is a chili pepper, but then under that it's like, you know, a bunch of
Spicy
nonsense.
hot.
And you're like, I don't know what this does. Yeah, so you have to kind of figure it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Which personally I think is like probably my favorite thing about the game, is that it doesn't really tell you much, but it tells you like just enough for you to feel really smart at like looking at all this stuff and figuring it out. Also just the aesthetic is like really cute and great. And they do a lot with it, with the minimal kind of things that it has in there. And they do a lot with like Ronnie was just talking about, like with the level design, where you'll go behind some like tree that kind of looks like there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden you're like in a secret shop that has all these items you can buy, or like it leads like around this thing and like under a thing, and there's a dungeon here, you know, where you get an item or something. It's really neat that way.
Just like
there's
Houston.
also, yeah,
Yeah.
there's like
Lots of dungeons around here.
there's not really any dialogue in the game. It's all kind of just told through like context and stuff, which gives it this like really like, I don't want to say lonely, but kind of lonely feeling to it, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like it's very solitary in that, like the way the music is and stuff. It's kind of just you like poking at this world and like figuring out where to go and stuff. Because there's ways to get around certain things where you're not supposed to go, and kind of just have to figure it out. But
yeah, other than Hyperlight Drifter, the other kind of vibe I got from it was almost kind of like Journey. Very, very different in terms of gameplay. Journey, one of my favorite games of all time, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. But just the kind of lone person wandering and figuring out what's going on in this world without much context. You can kind of imprint a lot of what you want onto it. And I got the weirdest feeling playing it that first night. And I was like, I feel like I rented like an SNES game from Blockbuster and someone else's save was on there. And that's the game that I started. And I'm kind of playing through that because they're giving you like just pieces of like, I feel like I should know this.
yeah,
But I don't yet. Like, do I
like
have
what
enough
are all these
information
tuning
here?
forks for? And you're like trying to figure them out. Yeah.
It's a really cool game, and I'm excited to jump back in when I can, you know, find some time to play for myself. And Brian stops asking me to play things because I'm just kidding. I love.
Never gonna
I love
happen,
Brian.
dude.
Yeah, I know.
Trust
Me
me,
neither.
it's never gonna happen.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say I'm greatly enjoying it. It has like I think it has like a ton of personality for a game that people are like, apparently it's getting review bombed and stuff on like Metacritic because people are like, it's too much like Zelda or it's too much like Dark Souls, and I'm like, that's kind of what you wanted,
Are you telling
right?
me they found something to be mad at on the internet?
How dare
Apparently,
they?
yeah. But that's partially what I think is its strength, because it has like all of these it has all these Dark Souls sensibilities, but it's not like hard like a Dark Souls game. It's very forgiving in a lot of respects, and it's like it's kind of like a Zelda game, but not, because I feel like Zelda games are slightly more hand-holdy than this.
Yeah.
They are now.
They are
didn't
now.
used to
That's
be.
true. It feels very much like a three-dimensional SNES game, but that's giving you like just enough clues for you to figure out what to do and where to go. Like I liked that even too, like when you get to the first boss, there's even like a little like page in the instruction manual, if you find it, that has a picture of him, and there's literally written on it, it says you can do this. And it has like the level up stats where it's like, try to be around here when you fight them and stuff. And you're like, fuck yeah, instruction manual, I can do this, you know, and you finally like get them.
It feels like it could be a difficult game in terms of exploration and some of the fights, but it feels like the game is always on your side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It really wants you to keep going. It's not trying to punish you.
Yeah. Dying doesn't feel as bad, mainly because like you don't lose all your money or whatever, you know. You lose like maybe a little bit of it, but you still have most of it, and then you can go get it back. Which feels good. Like it would feel maybe a little too much like Dark Souls if it was like, well, you lost everything and now you got to fight like hell to get it back. But it's just kind of like, no, it's like a tiny punishment, so you can go get it back, but you know, you'll get that money back just by killing random stuff or doing whatever, like just playing the game. But I really, really like it. I don't have like maybe a concrete opinion on it, but I'm recommending it to people. But I feel like if it just maintains what it's doing the whole time, then I will end up loving this game and saying it's great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
How I forget, did either of you play Death's Door?
I own it, but I haven't played it.
And Ryan?
I did. I edited a devs react to speedruns for IGN for that, and I was like having to half watch the screen and make sure everything was recording, and trying to not see the end of the game the whole time.
Yeah.
So I still have not beaten it, but I got a few hours in. I think just nature of my job, I play the first few hours of a lot of different games, and it's hard to finish stuff these days. But yeah,
that happened.
Yeah.
That happened to me a lot too.
Yeah,
It's like, doing this again.
I reviewed it for the podcast a ways back and adored it. And I played Tunic before this. I've talked about this on the show, but I first played it at PAX West 2018, and I liked it then. And then the open beta came out, and it was kind of not running super great on PC. I'm curious to know if you guys have any technical issues. I'm assuming you're both playing it on Xbox.
I'm playing it on Xbox Series X, and it's smooth as butter.
Me too.
Yeah, you're the only person that I know of that had problems with it on PC.
It was really framey and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say
really
play it on your Xbox.
Yeah, when I did that demo and played the demo on Xbox, they both were really smooth.
Okay.
Yeah.
It feels like a couch game.
It feels like a console game kind of anyway.
Yeah.
In the sense that it is sort of trying to emulate like that SNES experience a little to a slight degree, right? In feeling and tone. I would say it plays really well on like Xbox.
I will say I'm half tempted to wait to play it and buy it on Steam Deck or play it on Switch. Like I imagine it'll come to Switch at some point. It just seems like that kind of game.
Probably. I would say probably.
Yeah. And the only reason I say that is because of how much I've enjoyed really spending time with, like, this is probably the most I've spent with the Switch OLED over the last since I got it. But it just seems like a game that would really benefit from that. Like between the color palettes and
I'd be really
just how
interested to play
simplistic
it
it
Steam
looks
Deck.
and yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, when I spent so much time in Death's Door, and Death's Door was something that vibed with me a little bit more on aesthetics. I really liked how fluid the gameplay felt and how just absolutely polished it was. And so it kind of ate away at my enthusiasm for Tunic. So I haven't really, even though I enjoyed what I played originally, I kind of feel like I was hungry for this food, it wasn't available, and then I ate something else that really satisfied me, and now I'm not really that hungry for this anymore. Not that I'm not like eventually going to play it or something like that, but it's out and I just haven't really felt like doing it.
Yeah.
I just leave it as a back burner game. Yeah. Just
for sure. I was just curious if what you guys had played of Death's Door had kind of felt like this was giving you the same sort of like tickle in the same spots on you.
Yeah.
As they say.
I can't say.
I don't know why I did that hand gesture when I did that. That's not right at all.
Yeah.
It's nice talking to you guys. I'm gonna go. Death's Door. I haven't been very far into either of them, but from my understanding, Death's Door is a little more action and combat focused, and Tunic feels more like an exploration and kind of luxuriating in this world kind of game. I could be wrong because I haven't gotten too far either.
Tunic seems more rigid. Like it's meant to play as if it's a like older style or inspired by older style types of games. At least what I've seen of Death's Door, it seems a lot more fluid than what Tunic is doing.
That's really fluid, yeah.
Yeah. So like if that's what you're driving with, then that could be why.
Yeah, I would say like the combat can get difficult in Tunic, but it's more like I feel like it's more difficult if you just don't take your time.
Yeah.
Like that's usually when it punishes me for being a little too impatient, right?
Yeah.
That's a very Souls thing.
Yeah.
Can't get greedy.
Again, it doesn't punish you too bad.
Cool.
But I would say it does feel very much about the exploration. Like it is a lot less about like overcoming these big bosses, because it's not really like there are bosses, but for the most part it's about like, hey, you have a new tool, like a new toy, you should go try that in that area you were before, because that'll open up a shortcut, and then that'll also open up a thing like to a dungeon that'll give you a new item that will once again open up a new shortcut, and like you'll get some big story thing or whatever. Like it just kind of feeds into itself that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool. That sounds fun.
But I definitely dig it. I would say Catch the Fever on Tunic.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I do want to make one correction. The soundtrack is not by Disaster Piece.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's not. There's
It's
a
not.
Disaster Piece Hyperlight Drifter OST on Bandcamp that I found.
There's a
That's weird.
well, no. Disaster Pieces does Hyperlight Drifter and Fez. Tunic is not.
Oh, but
Disaster
they didn't
Piece.
do. Okay.
Yeah. Tunic is by Lifeformed and Janice Kwan, who I'm not familiar with either of their work, but they have a lot of stuff on Spotify. Yeah,
They
definitely
are
worth
fantastic.
diving into.
Nice. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Catch the Fever.
Catch the Fever, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I would also give Persona 4 Arena Ultimax my Catch the Fever.
A lot of Catch the Fevers this week.
Lot
I bet
of
there's a lot of
fevers
Catch
going
the
around.
Fevers this week. Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
I'm about to get exposed as a fake fan. I've listened to a few episodes. Is the Catch the Fever thing? Like, is that a thing?
That is a thing.
That's
It's
like
when we
that's
really
our
like
seal,
something.
personal seal
Yeah.
of approval or Critics' Choice Award.
Have I only listened to you guys when you don't like things?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Catch
say
the
we
Fever.
give out more Catch the Fever awards than anything. We're pretty positive.
Yeah,
for the
it's
most
pretty
part.
rare that we're like catch a mild cold. Like
Yeah.
that
Or we're
we've
like, this
given
thing
that
kinda
out a few
sucks,
times.
you know?
Or it's like
I do
just
that
stay away
constantly.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy in the winter.
But I feel like that's also it's like a lot of people criticize like major sites. Oh, you guys only explore like the top 3 or 4 points on the 10-point scale. And it's like, yeah, well, when you play games for as long as we have, you can look at a trailer for something and usually tell whether it's going to be good or not.
Or for you.
Or for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that we're playing is stuff that really speaks to us, or it looks like it's really going to speak to us.
Yeah.
So it's fairly likely that we're going to catch some fevers.
The 1 through 5s kind of shake themselves out unless you have a AAA thing that's busted on launch or something like that. But a lot of that's been relegated to mobile. A lot of that stuff you can come seeing from a really long way away. So it's a little bit of selection bias of you only give 6 and up. I'm like, well, yeah, because that's the only games that people are going to care about. I'm not going to give this random clicker game on iOS a review because it would get a 2 and no one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody
That's
was
fair.
looking forward to that anyway. So
Yeah.
Not anymore, at least.
Although
Not anymore.
I did offer to review Nickelodeon Kart Racers Grand Prix 2 when that released, and was told no, they don't care, they don't want it. I was like, I will literally write it for free. And they said no one's gonna read it, and I said okay.
Yep.
it's because there's only one person in the world who would read that review.
There are
and
dozens
it's you.
of us.
I was told something about like Battlefront. I don't care if I'm saying this. I tried to write a Battlefront 2 article for GameSpot, and they basically told me no. And then I turned around and was like, "Hey, CNET, do you want this?" And they said, "Yeah." So go read my cool Battlefront article on CNET of things that I would like to see in the game, but are never coming because they don't patch that game anymore.
Red Venture CNET.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well.
Womp womp.
I'm not gonna say anything
Anyhoozle.
about that right now, but I do want to hear, Chrissy boy, you had a trip, and on that trip, you did some cool things. You were maybe hoping to run into somebody. Did you?
I did not.
Did you run in? Oh,
But
okay.
the group, so full context for those that are not aware, I spent this past weekend in New Orleans, and they are currently filming Renfield. Renfield, thank you. I was thinking of Resident Evil.
A movie about
Yeah,
Chris Redfield.
Chris Redfield.
I watch it.
In New Orleans, and the wedding that we were going to was at the Ogden Museum of Art, which they wanted to film a scene for that movie in that museum on the day of the wedding. The only reason we didn't run into him there was because apparently him being the one and only Nicolas Cage,
yes,
the supreme,
who's playing Dracula in this movie.
yes, supreme leader of all of
Can't
New
wait.
Orleans, with his burial plot, already
Yeah. I've heard about that.
stood in place. Our friends got pictures taken in front of it, but we didn't get to see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But they wanted to do a bunch of pyrotechnics in the library, which is completely wooden. Like, it is an entirely wooden room. And they were like, this is a historical site. It's probably not a good idea that you do that. And then the studio flipped out at them. And then they did not shoot there because they were not allowed to. So, but our friends, the night... Yeah.
I thought you were going to say expect CGI fire.
No, I mean, I don't know what they're doing instead, but our friends the night before we got there.
CGI burned this library to the ground.
They were standing on a street corner and they ran into the groom of the wedding and they like started freaking out. We're like, oh my God, like so happy to see you. And like talking really loudly, and around the corner they're actually filming the movie. Wow. And like some guy from the studio was like, "You guys are being too loud. You guys shut up." Like give it a bunch of crap.
We're making cinematic.
Guy. It's fun.
Yeah. So they got to be within like 500 feet of Nicolas Cage, but that was as close as we got.
What with the restraining orders?
Yeah, exactly. And not after last time. That being said, New Orleans is a beautiful city. If you've never been, you should definitely go check it out.
I have not.
We stayed in the Garden District. I would recommend not doing that. If you can find a place in the French Quarter, go ahead and do that. It'll cost you a penny.
If you're a heavy sleeper, you'll have fun in the French Quarter when you eventually go to bed. Other than that, it might be a little rough.
Yeah, well, and it depends where, right? Like it was Saturday afternoon, and we I forget where we were coming. Oh, we went to Court of Two Sisters for brunch, and we were coming out. We're walking down the street trying to get an Uber, and I'm like, man, this Uber is like really making us walk really far. Like I've never had this happen. What's going on? And with that, we're walking and we hit Bourbon Street, and there's just like people going nuts. Like I don't know, the band going down the road or what was happening, but I was like, oh, yep, this is the thing. This is it. And yeah, I mean, it's like that all the time. It seems like. It's just crazy. It's such a different. I mean, definitely don't bring your kids there, but
yeah,
it was cool being there. And then we went home, and while we were unpacking, I turned on Princess and the Frog, and just seeing like Jackson Square and a lot of those places that like they've animated into the movie. I got to see the tree that Mama Odie's wishing tree was based on in the bayou. That was cool.
Make a wish.
No,
Nicolas Cage.
I did make a Deliverance joke.
I wished for Nicolas Cage, and that is all.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not gonna make a wish,
this guy being like, "You guys are being too loud."
First AD pops out of the tree. Get out.
But no, we'll probably go back. It was a really cool time. But what was not cool was on Wednesday night, when I went to bed, I checked into our flight, and our flight was supposed to take off at 8:20 a.m. from Philadelphia International Airport. When I woke up at 4:45. I woke up to a text saying, "Hey, get ready for your flight that leaves at 6:10 in the morning." So they actually moved the flight up. And by the time I had sped to Philadelphia Airport and parked the car, figured out where to go, it was like 6 o'clock, and we were like, we're not getting on this plane. So I got to sit in the airport for about 6 hours waiting for my next flight, because there was no point in like turning around and it was like, let's just stay, we'll get drinks or whatever and hang.
I promise I'm not trying to one-up you, but I am trying to empathize. Brian, I think we've talked about, we both went to Kind of Funny Life too. We were both from Houston, and we went there and both came back before we ever knew each other.
Yes.
Like that was before I ever went to...
I was there too.
Oh, wow. I was there too.
That's where I met these guys as well.
Yeah, we all went there, and then who knew?
And now we're all friends.
On the flight back, I don't know if you got stuck on the same flight back, but it was, I think, a 15-hour delay. But it was...
No.
It was hour by hour, so they didn't tell us come back later. They kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it.
Oh my God.
So we had to stay at the airport the entire time. It was me and my brother, and that was bad.
Sounds fucking brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. Like, if you could at least just tell me, like, hey, you can go sleep somewhere that's not an airport for a while and come back later. But the way that they pushed it, they just kept doing it hour by hour, and I'm like, you're trying to break me down at this point.
I've
It's not
died,
going
and
to
this is
work.
actually hell.
Yeah.
Now
So,
I think
I've been there, that
we
sucks.
Yeah.
dodged that bullet because we actually ended up staying for a couple days more.
Okay.
In San Francisco, I think so. Josh might remember that.
I don't remember, but I remember you and Audrey being there.
Yeah.
And Chris being there too.
Yeah, we were hanging out with Harvey, I think, for a bit longer, and we definitely went around.
I think you guys stayed with him or something. I could be
no,
wrong.
we stayed in a hotel. Brad stayed with him.
Brad stayed with him.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to
buddy Brad Miller.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is nuts.
But
that sucks. Both of those situations really suck.
Honestly, 6 hours to 15 hours, it's just kind of the same at that point. You're just in purgatory for a while.
Yeah, you're just waiting and like hovering over a charging station. Like, all right.
And hope to God you have some sort of something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God, and I said it, like, thank God for the Switch, man. Like, for a console that really has gone underused over the last 2 years because of COVID and not really leaving the house and everything, I have fallen back in love with this system so hard. Like,
oh snap!
Yeah, like especially the OLED. Like the entire
He's back, baby.
The entire time I was using it, I was just like, man, what a great like the screen on this thing is incredible. The speakers are really good. Like there were a lot of moments where it was just me and Jess, and like she was just reading, so I was like, all right, I'll crank the speakers up. They finally added Bluetooth support for the headphones, so like I got to use that.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, like the whole experience is just really, really elevated for sure. But I was popping between Hollow Knight and Super Mario Sunshine like over and over, pretty much during that whole time, and then during the layover that we had in Chicago, I did that as well, and on the plane. The battery like lasted the entire time though, which I couldn't believe. It's that much better on the OLED, which was really, really cool. But Hollow Knight itself, this is it. This is the first time that I've played a Souls game where I finally had the moment where I was like, I get it.
Yes!
I finally get it.
We got him.
Like I get why people get hooked into this. And it's not in, and I think I got it with Demon's Souls. But this is in a
Demon's
much
Souls has a lot of artifacts from the PS3 iteration. It's not as I think that's why a lot of people are vibing with Elden Ring, is because there's so many quality of life improvements, and as polished as Demon's Souls is from the remake standpoint, it still has a lot of that stuff that really sucks.
Well, I don't even know if it's just that. Like I think it's Hollow Knight is in a setting that is so much more interesting to me. I think the art style is beautiful.
Like them bugs?
I like the bugs. I think the characters are like creepy but also really cute. You know, there's something like very endearing about them. I think the score is one of the most beautiful scores I've ever heard.
It's fantastic. I'd love to have an amiibo lineup of like all the major characters in Hollow Knight. That'd be amazing.
I know there's a lot of stuff on Fangamer has like all kinds of figures and stuff like that. But
I've always meant to make a Hollow Knight statue for Brian, but I haven't got around to it.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
There you go.
Print it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. I have too many projects right now, so
too many projects, not enough resin.
I won't hold you to that, but that would be a really cool thing.
Yeah. But I really like the upgrade system. I think it is definitely a tough but fair situation. And even that thing that Ronny, you said earlier, like where you can't get greedy. There definitely have been moments where I have, and you know it's bit me in the ass. But I've always gotten back. Like I haven't had a moment yet where I've gotten somewhere and I've been like, oh my god, like it's so far away. It's like, no, I can get back there. Like this is definitely like doable at this point, because you do get better every time you get through, you know, whatever section you're in. I do really love that, like the oh shit feeling that every like level of hollowness that you get to gives you, like with the different enemy types that you come. Like there's one in like the first section where it's like this knight with like a really long beard and he has a shield. And And the first time I saw him, there was only one of them, and I was like, oh my god, like this must be a boss fight. And so like I did it and I beat him, and I was like, all right, like, I feel really good about myself. And I dropped down, and there's two of them, and I was like, oh my god, like, are you kidding me?
Getting
This is
out of hand.
You know, and then I learned how to beat them, and I was like, wow, like I really like this feels really good. I finally get what everybody's talking about with this kind of game. I think with Demon,
I recently had a moment like that in Elden Ring where like a very early boss, like I started to find just them with other enemies just out in the world, and I'm like, god damn. And then there was one where I had to fight two of them, and I'm like, you guys, Miyazaki. So Hollow Knight definitely challenges or channels that sort of energy. And I love it. It's so good.
But I think because I have so much more, I don't even say more experience with 2D games, it's like they're just easier for me, and I just like care about it, like
less axes.
Yeah, like
you don't have to control the camera at all.
Well,
you
not
can just
even
focus on the action.
It's not even that. Like I don't find the night setting of like Dark Souls and Demon Souls that interesting. Like I think Bloodborne's cool as shit, but like I haven't gone back to give that a shot at this point, and now I won't because like they've got to be doing a remake.
You keep saying that.
I've been saying it for a long time, but I don't know. It makes too much sense for them not to.
I mean, you say it long enough, then I mean it'll happen, right?
Right? Just like the Banjo-Kazooie remake.
Or it won't.
Yeah. Or it won't.
Yeah, but when it does, you'll be like, "See, I was right."
I told you all.
For 70 years.
If you say Bloodborne remake 3 times into a mirror, Miyazaki actually pops out of it and kills you. So be careful.
Yeah, be careful. Although some other people are giving us Bloodborne cart, so there is some version of the dream that is alive.
Yeah.
Not to name drop again, but that was like announced when we recorded our Devs Reacts to speedruns, because they did the developers of Bloodborne PSX came on to react to that speedrun, and they're like, oh, by the way,
we're making a thing.
Bloodborne cart. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Hell yeah.
What is that? To go off on a tangent, I haven't read up on it yet. I just saw like the thumbnail that it came out, or is coming out. What is it? Is it like an N64 mod? Is it its own
Bloodborne
thing?
PSX?
Bloodborne cart. Like, are they basing it off of like, is it a ROM hack or is it a original game?
I'm not sure. It might be built from the ground up, I think, like the D-Make was, but I'm not too sure yet.
Okay. I was just curious because there's like Dragon Ball Kart and like all kinds of random stuff on N64, like Waluigi's taco stand and all that. Which, if you've never seen it, is a super weird thing.
We all know the sort of twisted things that make Waluigi's taco stand.
A lot of food poisoning, it sounds like.
Oh, you have no idea. But no, I definitely I foresee myself playing Hollow Knight to completion. I say that about a lot of games, though. Kirby is showing up tomorrow, so it's very possible that I pop that into the Switch and, you know, that's it. And then Lego Star Wars comes out, and then Jess and I are doing that, and then Hollow Knight
comes out really soon.
Fades away. That comes out next week.
That game? No, really?
Yeah, it comes out next Tuesday.
That game I pre-ordered like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I had no idea. Well, I guess I have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
What? Ronnie's looking like.
No, I had a small moment of existential terror because I think I'm covering that for work, and I totally forgot it came out next week.
Ooh.
So my mind started scheduling my next week and a half.
And then you're like, oh no.
Yeah. What all do I have to drop and do?
I'll be fine.
What do I have to get done before then?
Yeah.
Nothing. I'll worry about it tomorrow.
Yeah. How many areas have you discovered in Hollow Knight?
I think I'm in the 3rd or 4th. I'm in the fungal area.
Cool.
Which that
have you gotten to the bubbly area yet, or no?
No. I just got the map for the fungal area.
Okay.
Because again, I was going between that, and I'm probably like 5 or 6 hours in. I'm going between that and Mario Sunshine, which I think I got like 52 shine sprites at this point. Which that game has a lot of bullshit in it. Like, that's definitely the worst 3D Mario game.
Like, more than any 3D Mario, that game is just crammed with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like
Which
there's
one?
Super
Sunshine.
Mario Sunshine. Like there's a lot of moments where I'm just fighting the mechanics in that game, and like it's too easy to get pissed off while playing it. Yeah, the camera is really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much of that I just like put up with as a kid. I remember playing it a lot and being like, this game's hard, and it's like, no, this game just isn't designed that well.
Yeah, I remember as a kid it being super fucking hard, and then I even remember at the time people complaining about the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a lot to the difficulty just on top of it.
Like there was one in Rico Harbor
being that hard.
I didn't either, but there was one in Rico Harbor, where it was 8 red coins on the lake or whatever it is. You go around, you hop on a blooper, you have to collect 8 red coins, and then you have to go back to the dock. The problem is you can't get off the blooper. You have to remain on it and hop onto the dock on the blooper, and then, you end the game that way. Well, when you get the 8th coin, it would like cut to like a video of like, okay, there's the shine sprite on the dock, and then it would cut back to gameplay. You're still moving, but my camera would be all jacked up, so like I'm looking at Mario looking at me, and I can't see where I'm going, and I can't get off the blooper, and it happened like 4 or 5 times. So I'd inevitably crash into something and have to do it again. So I got really good at getting the coins, but eventually it didn't do that, and then I was able to get it. But I was like, this is so fucking annoying.
Sounds annoying.
Yeah.
Sunshine for me is stuck in that like awkward teenage years middle ground to where Super Mario 64, they built the levels, some exclusions of course in the game, but they built their levels with the assumption that their camera kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And they were working around it. Super Mario Sunshine felt like they built the levels to have a good camera, and then it just doesn't. It's especially the levels because like when you have Flood, that's a good like get out of jail free card. I jump too far, I can hover for a second, make my way back.
Right.
Especially the platforming levels where you go inside the pipes and they take Flood away, and it's just straight platforming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're literally clipping through stuff or going behind things and falling. That stuff gets.
It doesn't feel good. Yeah.
No. Because
I think I remember doing part of one of those and was like, nope, I'm not doing any of this.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you liked the game.
Maybe.
Yeah. There was a while where I like I said in the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I'll get, because I always do. I was like, I'll get every shine sprite. Like I'll get every star. I've done it in Odyssey. I've done it in every other Mario game. I was like, why not? I do not foresee myself 100%ing this game. It seems like it would be like I'd rather put my nuts in a vice. Like it's just that type of experience. Yeah. So
You'd probably rather play some of the optional bosses in Hollow Knight.
Probably. Yeah.
They're good.
But Hollow Knight, man, if you haven't played it, especially if you have a Switch OLED, god damn.
Yeah.
What a game.
You waited for the right time with that OLED.
Yeah.
To play.
Now I will ask. Hollow Knight is one of my 10s. It's one of my 10s for sure.
Yeah.
So certainly catch a blazing fever that endangers your life and hospitalizes you.
My God.
With this one. But one of the great things that I love about this game, and this is something that Death's Door does also, is your melee attacks charge your stuff. So like in Hollow Knight, it like charges your like white kind of fluid up in your meter, and then you can spend that on heals, which I think is such a brilliant thing. What sorts of charms are you using in the game?
Right now, I could see myself on the, I can't remember what the third one is. I could see myself on the map. I have the magnet one where I can just like gather coins. What I'm trying to do right now is just like farm. So I figured that was a good one to use. I forget what the other one is though, but I only have 3 slots right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I have like probably 8 or 9 different charms because I bought everything up top, and then I just ran into another like shopkeeper. I think he's like an ant.
Okay.
His shit is like very expensive, so I'm just trying to save up at this point.
Yeah, there's a lady also that has a shop, and she's got some really good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's also pricier.
Yeah.
But like I think she's got some that are like healing buffing ones that are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like quick charge or something like that. I forget what it is. But yeah, she's got a lot of good stuff. And then you can find some real, man, I love that system. It's so good. I may have to replay this if I ever get out of the 5 games that I'm playing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, which I never will.
Ronnie, what were you gonna say?
This is where I live.
I was just gonna ask, do you like the map system, having to find the cartographer? to get a map.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. It's a different take on it. I don't like that. I don't like that takes up one of my charm slots. Like, I wish if I had the map, I would just know where I am.
Yeah.
I get why they do it. But I like the idea of, like, no, you are going into this uninhabited place, like, but someone else has been here. Just kind of go in and figure it out. Because I mean, Metroid kind of does that too, or at least, like, because I was playing that as well on the plane, Metroid Fusion.
You get to the maps station.
Yeah, you have to go to the navigation rooms, and, like, that's when it and it's all scans over
Yeah.
and gives you everything.
It does fill out your map as you're playing in those, though.
It does. Yeah,
in Hollow Knight, if I remember correctly, like, there's no map whatsoever until you find the dude who's whistling.
Yep.
It's been a while since I played.
Exactly.
Cornifer. Yep.
Good
He's a cool character.
He's really good.
One other thing I wanted to bring up about New Orleans, because it kind of ties into Hollow Knight. I ran into this. We went into an art studio because at night we were on a murder mystery tour thing about all these murders that happened in New Orleans, and we walked by this art studio, and, like, this painting, like, really caught my eye, which, like, I don't know, I guess I give a shit about art, but, like, I didn't actually expect it to happen. Like, usually it's like, it's like paintings of the city and stuff like that. I'm like, I would never put this in my house. And I saw this one that I was like, oh my God, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I couldn't buy it because when I went the next day and asked how much it was $3,500, and I'm not rich. So last time I checked,
you took a picture of it.
So I took a picture of it. I'm gonna print it out on my my HP or my compact laser printer. No,
Compact Presario.
yeah, my Presario, my Kodak. But it's this artist. His name is Danny Delancey, if you look him up. But all of his paintings have it's this bunny man where the head is a rabbit. He's in a black suit. He's holding these red balloons, and he's holding a cane. But it just gave me, like, these weird Hollow Knight kind of vibes. And it's also just very, like, weird and interesting looking. But when I went into the studio, I was talking to the one guy that worked there, and he was, asking what we're into and why I think I like these paintings and everything. And he was like, yeah, my partner's been playing this game where, like, the music is, like, really beautiful, and it's all 2D. It's, like, kind of creepy looking. It's like Dark Knight or something. And I was like, Hollow Knight? And, like, he's like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, oh my God, I literally just started playing that. But it was he said the same thing. He's like, these paintings kind of remind me a lot of it. But I actually ended up Jess got me a print for my birthday. But it's just a very, like, it's creepy, but the message behind them is cool. The guy just says, as you stroll through life, be positive, have a sense of humor, and hold on to what's dear to you. But yeah, if you get a minute, Delancey Art Gallery is the website.
Yeah, I'm looking at the site right now.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
That's weird stuff.
Yeah. But I haven't like seen a piece of art like that where I literally stopped dead in my tracks and I was like, that's fucking awesome. Like, I would love to have that in my house. But
that's awesome.
Alas.
And then you stole it.
And then I stole it. Thanks, Nick Cage, for training me.
I was just about to say.
Truest art thief.
Yeah.
You took inspiration from the man who stole the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also a PSA for anybody else trying to play Hollow Knight out there, and for Chris, my boy himself. If you need help with that game, I wrote the Hollow Knight guide for IGN. It is perhaps the game guide that I am the most proud of that I have done.
Your opus.
I think it probably is. Honestly.
Yeah.
The way that I structured it, the way that it kind of just flows together, and what I was able to do with it. I don't know what I was on when I wrote that guide, but it just...
That Metroid good.
It's real good. It's
Metroid,
real good. So,
good.
If you need help with that, I did the work for you. I 100%ed that game, so you could also. So
cool.
Good deal.
Anyway, what now? We've talked about all this stuff. I can touch on Young Souls or The Cruel King and the Great Hero if we want. We can tackle some other things, or we can call it. What do you guys want to do?
I'm curious about Young Souls.
Yeah, and
but...
I can talk about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands a bit too.
Oh yeah,
if someone wants to. I've been doing that for work, but
that's right. Well, I'll dip into Young Souls a little bit. So I've been playing this for a while. This was another one of the games that I played first at my Devolver appointment at PAX 2018. It's awesome. It is a side-scrolling kind of brawler. You play two redhead twins, who live in a very modern city, and all of a sudden they come home from the pawn shop to discover that their kind of foster father has vanished. And they go into some room that he's told them never to go into, and they find this lift, and it goes down into a basement far below ground. And there's a portal there, and they step through it, and they find another world with fantastic creatures like goblins and all this sort of stuff, and magic. And they're basically trying to rescue him. He was abducted by these sinister underground forces. And that's what it is. And so you're running, left to right along the way. You doing like a bunch of combos. A lot of people have compared it to, or I don't know if a lot, but I've heard the kind of style in some of the promotional materials combined to like a combination of a brawler and a fighting game. And I think that that's pretty apt, like more so than games like Streets of Rage 4 and stuff like that. Like you literally can do like juggle combos. So like you can do like jump into the air, do an attack, which knocks somebody into the air, then you land and hit them again, and then do like a move and a super move, and you can dash and do it like a dodge roll and stuff. It's way more active and engaging and fast paced than a lot of kind of brawlers that I've played before. Super, super fun. So I really, really like it. I don't know how many chapters there are. I feel like I'm like a handful of chapters in, maybe like 6 or 7 chapters into the game, but I'm having a blast with it. I got it on Switch and PC. I got review keys for the game. As with many games that I try to play on Switch, I find the load times to be a little bit longer than I would like. But it still runs super well and looks really great. Like, I think it looks really good.
It is on Game Pass also, though, right? So
yes, I think so. So. So you can play it on Series X or on PC also. I've been playing it on Steam, but that's where I'm gonna keep playing it, is on PC. But it does play very well portably. The only thing is just, and I think if I was doing this while I was doing other things like watching a show or something like this, this wouldn't be that big of a deal. But because I'm like playing it as like the thing I want to do, those load times just get a little bit obnoxious for me. It's not like super egregious. It's just like a little bit, it's not like a Chris Tales situation where it was like 2 or 3 times as long as the load times on PC.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit longer.
You said it's twins. So is there co-op in the game?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I've not done any of that. But yeah, it is. And you switch back and forth between them. Actually,
yeah, kind of like River City Girls, or.
I actually haven't played River City Girls. I've been meaning to.
The game is fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't switch back and forth, but the two characters play very differently, different skill trees and everything.
Let me see. Multiplayer. Yeah, shared split screen co-op and remote play together.
Oh, cool.
On Steam. So, yeah. So that's really good. You switch back and forth. You like manage their health and stuff, but they seem to like kind of split the difference between having them share a health pool and having you like switch between them to like manage their health. I haven't super locked down how that works. But it's really, really fun. I will say I still run into like some of the same issues that you have with like side-scrolling beat 'em ups, where like if somebody is like further behind you or above you on the like walking plane or in front of you, like your attacks will whiff, or sometimes you'll get hit with something that like doesn't necessarily look like you should have been hit by. But the game has a lot of different difficulty settings. So you can really kind of, and you can switch them, I think, on the fly. So if you just find a fight really obnoxious, you can lower it down to like storytelling mode and like have it be real easy. And then you can just plow through and then pop it back up to whatever level you want it to be. I'm having a blast with it. I find it, the movement in it really good. Like being able to go through and then like smack an item at somebody, or like, you know, find something in the environment and smash through it to get, you know, to get some cash while you're on your way to like punching a spider in the face or slashing it with your sword. I don't know. It's a lot of fun. I fought a couple of bosses so far. They're not like super complicated. It's kind of like, it's not like Zelda, but it's kind of got that sort of, like Zelda Link to the Past sort of boss feel, where it's like, it takes kind of a second to like figure out what the boss is doing, but once you do, it's not going to take you very long to beat them. Like that's kind of what it feels like. Like it's very breezy and brisk. You know what I mean? Like you can really crank the challenge up if you want, but if you're playing on like normal or average difficulty or easy difficulty, like it's very much like you can just kind of put your head down and muscle your way through stuff if you want, you know, and not worry too much about getting like savagely punished. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm definitely going to keep playing it. It's real cool.
Cool.
So
I'll have to give it a go.
Toy.
Yeah, if any of you guys want to try the co-op, I'd be really interested to see how that is. I imagine that would be real fun.
Yeah.
Particularly because I know a lot of us have Game Pass.
Hey.
So maybe all of us.
Who doesn't at this point, right?
Yeah.
If you don't,
I guess if you don't have an Xbox or a PC, then you don't. But
yeah.
Idiot.
But what are you doing without?
if you
an
do,
Xbox?
it's like, what are you
you're
doing?
friggin-
You should have it.
You're a dingus either way in my book.
Actually, can't you like play those games on
No need
on
for that
xCloud on mobile and stuff like that as well?
Some
Yep.
of them. So yeah.
So
I tried to play Morrowind on remote play on my phone, or just streaming.
How was
just to try
that?
it out. It was rough. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to tell what's the Morrowind jank, because that game already feels terrible to play.
Yeah.
Incredible game, feels terrible to play. You know, both can be true. And so putting it on a phone, streaming it was not the best way to go.
What kind of phone?
Yeah.
It's an iPhone like 2 or 3 generations ago.
A
One of the
Nokia?
I thought you were
That's
gonna
not
say
too
an
bad.
iPhone 2 or 3.
iPhone 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be impressive.
None of my apps are working. I don't understand.
My PDA won't load.
This phone won't play an original Xbox game. I don't know why. It's an iPhone. It's supposed to be strong.
It's a trash phone now.
Speaking of strong, my daughter in the past couple of days has developed this weird, almost borderline Cockney accent, and I have no idea what's happening.
Like
Like
what?
she was like today, door, do you want to go outside? Like it was like almost Boston.
Oh my
Like,
God.
and I'm like, you want to go outside?
Like,
And
give me
I'm
the
like,
milk.
Has she been
Why
watching
are
The
you
Departed?
talking like this? No, she hasn't.
She's
That's the
been
strangest
watching
thing.
The Departed.
That happens to me.
Yeah.
We've been watching The Departed every day, but she
Dad,
just
Dad,
walks
I'm not
out.
a
She doesn't
fucking
get out.
cop.
Every day.
She's like, I've seen this. He's dirty. I can go.
Don't go on the roof.
She walks up to me and she's like, "Wait, is this one Scorsese was making for the studios or for himself?" I'll watch the other ones. And then she just leaves. But it's so weird because she said that to me. She's like, "You want to go outside, door?" And I'm like, "Nobody
room.
talks like that we know. Why are you talking like this?"
Somebody out there is like, how dare you?
Yeah, she watched like one video by accident on an iPad, and now that's it.
And then she shivved me in the shower, and I was like, "How could you?"
Again? We talked
God.
about this.
We talked about this. My girl
This is a
from the
no
streets
shiv
now.
zone.
This is a Shiv free zone.
I've got a really
You were frisked when you came in here. How did this get in here?
I've got a random question for everybody here, because this is a game that I've had on my PS4 since I got my PS4, I'm pretty sure. And I always see it, and I think it's really beautiful looking, but I've never touched it, and no one ever talks about it. Dust An Elysian Tale.
An Elysian
An
Tale.
Elysian Tale. Has anyone played it?
Yes.
I have played a little
bit, I think, like way back when.
I guess it wasn't very good.
I remember literally nothing about it.
It looks
Yeah,
cool.
It's fine. It looks cool. If this is gonna sound like a huge insult, that's not how I mean it. If you can think of like the best possible version of like a Flash game, like a really good Flash game, like Alien Hominid, something like that. And again, I'm not meaning this as an insult. I remember really enjoying it.
But it feels like that.
Wasn't it? It was like one of those games that was like, oh, this was made by one person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like
it's on Wario 64, and I was like, for like $2,
back when there
I was
weren't
like,
as many. Yeah.
back when there weren't as many of those examples.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's probably one of those things that would feel derivative now because so many things are like it. But I remember
probably
it being
do
cool
it better now
for the time. Yeah,
yeah.
It was received very well at the time, but it was. Keep in mind, this was also back when a single person making a game didn't have nearly the amount of tools that they do now.
Yeah.
And so I started playing it. It felt a little off to me, but the main thing was I couldn't take the visuals. Like they were very, very not me, like, and not my style. And so I quit playing basically because of how the game and the protagonist looked basically only.
Got it.
Which, I'm superficial, but I gotta be honest. So
I mean, I'll quit games like because of their UI. So
yeah, I've quit games for much less.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to stare at it for at least a dozen hours. It shouldn't hurt to look at.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Ronnie, I want to hear about this Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
Yeah, I'll try to take up too much time, but I'm kind of like Brian. I was a big fan of Borderlands 2. I think I had like 250 something hours in that game.
I thought you were gonna say I have like 2 platinums in it.
Yeah,
but,
2 or 3, at least 4. No, I really liked Borderlands 2, but the spots in between the fun gameplay when you're actually shooting things, fighting things, I found to just get really dull over time. Mainly the driving, just going from waypoint to waypoint, that kind of thing, and then the tone of it kind of wore out its welcome. And then I was excited for Borderlands 3. Jumped into it and bounced off the first hour like 3 or 4 times. Even trying to play co-op with my brothers. I don't know if it was the tone or if it was just keep getting lost while driving or something like that. And it sounds like a really weird specific problem to have, but I just for some reason I couldn't get past the intro of that game. So I was not too excited about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is kind of Borderlands with much more like D&D trappings. Like you actually have a character sheet with the 6 attributes. They just switch charisma for attunement. They call it something different. But you choose a class, you choose all your attributes, and instead of action skills, you have an action skill and a spell you can equip. And the spell is something else in your inventory. And you can call down meteors or throw fireballs or big giant line AoE strikes along the ground, and they're all different elements and things like that. That one element having an extra cooldown really helps with the pace of the combat. You're usually not waiting for something to cool down basically and have to use something else. Like it kind of keeps it moving.
That's
which
awesome,
I really like.
One of the big things about Borderlands is the action skills in those games feel so cool, but unless you're a specific character and unless I always played a character that had an action skill that was relatively short cooldown, and I always maxed out the skill tree ability that reduces your cooldown or lets you get it back faster on kills, because that's the cool thing. So
yeah, that's the pace that I enjoy playing at. But it's just kind of when you're just relying on the shooting, I think there's better games to play.
Yeah, for sure.
But another cool thing about this one, and it is its own full game. It's not a spin-off. It is a spin-off. It's not DLC to one of the other games.
It's a standalone, yeah.
Right.
It's its own standalone thing. Tiny Tina, your mileage may vary with that character. She's fun for me. 50% of the time, she can get a little bit grating after a while. But the voice cast is actually, Ashley Birch. So Tiny Tina also plays Aloy. She's good at what she does. There's also Andy Samberg, Wanda Sykes, and Will Arnett. And it's a stacked voice cast for sure. And they've got a pretty good, right? Yeah, he's the villain, and they've got a pretty good rapport with each other. But the way the the classes work is everyone has 2 action skills that you can swap between whenever you want. And I've been playing as a spell shot. Well, I've played as all of them for work. We had to do all that. That's a whole nother thing. But my main save is on a spell shot, and so you can either polymorph a one creature like into a sheep, and they're kind of just floating around, and you can get different stat bonuses for shooting that one sheep, and then like it increase your reload speed and like damage and all that kind of stuff. Or you can do what I've been doing and just use that as a second spell slot. And so I've always got at least one of 2 spells on cooldown, and that's really helped the pace of the game for me. And also the other big change from Borderlands is that there's no driving. There's actually like a top-down RPG overworld you'd find in like an older Final Fantasy. So it actually shrinks you down to like a little chibi character, and you're wandering around a field finding different areas. And when you run into a dude, like same kind of Pokemon tall grass thing, if you run into someone, it takes you into a combat arena encounter. And so the game just has way less downtime than it usually would for a Borderlands game, and that makes a big difference. And you can also multi-class when you get further into the game. And so I started as a spell shot, so I've got those 2 spells, and then I multi-classed into a Graveborn, which gives you a little like a demi-lich companion, little floating skull head dude who's constantly yelling insults. Again, your mileage may vary, but I think he's pretty funny. And so every time I cast a spell, like he sends a like blast of that same element at the guy that I just hit with a spell. And so since I'm casting twice the amount of spells, we're just flinging things at people all the time. So there's a lot of really cool synergy between the 6 classes, and there's going to be a lot of different weird builds, and hopefully broken builds, because I feel like that's where a lot of the fun comes in, that you can kind of make with those games. But I've actually been enjoying it way more than I thought I would.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean it seems like I want to be into it, but I've also never found a Borderlands game that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's. I think part of it is the. Not the style, but like the writing. Like
sure.
Those characters can get graining. For some people, and I think my experience with the first game is I always felt like I was somebody's bitch on Pandora. Like the whole beginning of that game is just like, I need this, go do that for me, and like, it's just a lot of fetch quests. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fetch quests.
So
pocket.
Yeah,
there is some of that, but it's kind of actually built into the story in a more interesting way, because Tina is your dungeon master.
Right.
And so she can say, and suddenly there's flaming rocks ahead of you, and then like a perfect clear day, suddenly there's a castle siege that just appears right there. So they do fun things like that, and like go here because you're supposed to, but they have a fun like outside the game reason. Like, what are the people that you're playing with at the table would rather do this, so it changes your path to another direction, kind of thing.
Yeah, like that's fun.
And again,
they
like
did that
I said,
in Assault on Dragon Keep as well, which is one of the things that I thought was the most interesting about that.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what this game is all that stuff like blown out to a full-size game with, I think, more interesting mechanics. There's still a ton of loot that you're picking up. You've got 4 weapons, and then you've got like an armor slot, a ring slot, like an amulet, a spell or 2 depending on your class, and then like a different kind of shield. And so it's, if you don't like games where loot is just dropping constantly, this may not be the one for you. But I've really been enjoying just the gameplay of it. And there have been times where, okay, the voices are a little much. I'm just going to turn on a podcast where I grind out a few levels in this one area. Yeah. It works well that way too, if you just want to kind of forego all that other stuff. And if you're not sure, from what I remember, the Borderlands games go into like pretty dang deep discounts after a while.
Yeah.
So like it'd be totally fine just to wait for that and then like pick it up with a friend.
Yeah, if anything, I know if you're like me and you redeem all the Epic Game Store games that show up for free at some point, the Dragon Keep, Assault on Dragon Keep was one of them a couple weeks back. So you may have it in your Epic library and not know it. But it's one that I think I actually have it installed. I just haven't, dipped my toe into it. But if that seems to grab me, maybe that'll get added on the wish list for Black Friday.
The wish list.
Hey.
So Yeah, it's a cool game. Had an annoying embargo, but that's a me thing, not a general public
Problem
thing.
with the
Oh,
game,
man.
Yeah.
I hate love annoying embargoes.
I was allowed to show like the first 2 hours of the game. Like that's all the footage we could show. And I'm on the gameplay
Yeah.
team. So I was like, I don't know what to do with this. It was the
Yeah.
first 2 hours of the story or 2 much further areas in the game that I hadn't gotten to yet because I had to squeeze what I could out of those first 2 hours.
Like, hey, let's
So-
reuse this area again.
Yeah.
Over and
no.
over and over again.
That
Um,
was fun.
before we do wrap, one question from Mumjum in the chat. Did anybody start
Oh,
playing
Mumjum.
Triangle Strategy?
It knows out.
Yeah.
I'm halfway through it.
I have the demo, but I haven't played any of it yet.
The reason I asked Brian, at least he says, it's scratching that Final Fantasy Tactics itch for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Brad and I have talked about this. Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite game.
Yeah.
And so this definitely has some of that. It is much more heavy on the story.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this game is probably like 65% story and cutscenes,
Oh, wow.
and the
Oh.
rest is gameplay. It is a major focus.
That
That's not
takes a
great.
little bit of wind out of my
Yeah.
sails.
Yeah.
And so I've actually really been enjoying it. I actually really like the story. I like the characters, but like I could totally see that turning someone off
Yeah.
immediately from that.
That's
That's a
what
bummer.
turned me off about the demo was that I was just like, all right, I don't want to talk to all the villagers.
Right.
I don't want to try to convince my team of this decision that I want to make. I just want to play the game, and I've only played one battle so far, and I've played this game for like an hour and a half.
I
And
would
it's just
play Final Fantasy Tactics.
Instead.
I mean, I actually really love this game, but it's
Yeah.
definitely, I think, not for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've heard that the more apt comparison to this game might actually not be Final Fantasy Tactics, might be Tactics Ogre.
Mhm.
But I think I only played like one of those games.
I've never played one.
Let Us Cling Together on PSP is really good, and there's definitely similarities to that.
I think there's one on DS that I played, but I can't remember. I feel like I didn't play Let Us Cling Together, but I might have. I don't know.
Yeah, you can still pick it up on Vita, and it plays really well on there.
It might have been a Game Boy Advance game or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, but yeah. So I'm interest adjacent to Triangle Strategy.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
His take on it is, unless you grind like crazy, you know, that's how you avoid having too much story. It's just grinding in it.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
there's
gotcha.
not like random battles out in the world. Like every battle is like a story battle, except you can go back to your encampment and there's like a tavern lady there who says, "I've got these side jobs for you," and then you can go in and do those one by one.
Yeah.
And you get a special reward for the first time you complete them, but after that, it's just experience.
Reminds me a little bit of like Joan of Arc on PSP, which is a very good tactics RPG.
Yeah,
Um,
Jean d'Arc.
That's cheap as hell. But it's the same. I think it sounds very similar. Where it's like every mission is basically like a story mission. Even if it's a side mission, it's got something
Don't
going
burn
on.
me. I stopped him from trying to
Nah.
burn me.
Not
Famous
what it's
last words.
about.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah,
She was really wrong though.
don't burn me.
She was really wrong because they did.
Burned her real.
Everybody gets burned in
man.
the end. Everyone.
Very dark.
Well,
All
Anyway,
right,
that's
let's
the
all
show.
Let's all get out of this show so we can play some more Elden Ring.
Yeah, I've been thumbing through a Triangle Strategy cutscene through this entire podcast, so I need to get back to it.
Nice. Anyways, thank you all for joining us for episode 225. Man, can you believe it? We're really getting up there.
getting up there.
Getting up there. If you like this show, tell friends about it, and please give us a review on your podcast platform or service of choice. Or, like and subscribe on YouTube where we archive all these episodes, or subscribe or follow on twitch.tv/platformerspod, where we stream all of these episodes every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you want to talk to us on social media, you can find all of us together, except for Ronnie, because he doesn't have access to this account, at Platfomers Pod. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ribnax. I don't really check Instagram that much, but I'm very active on Twitter.
But you're there.
So check me out there at Ribnax, Ribnax.
You can find me on Twitter at the Jawa Josh. I don't tweet that much, but if you want to see all the cool video essay stuff I'm working on, you can go to youtube.com/mediaismythic.
You can find me at Shrives93. I don't have anything. I never have anything going on. I have house stuff going on. I'm building a desk. Get off my back. That's it.
You build
If
that.
you want to
desk.
check out his
desk.
desk, meet him at 123 Philadelphia Street
There you go.
in Pennsylvania.
123
out that.
Philadelphia Street. Someone's like, "Hey,
I just
that's
got
my
doxxed. Damn
address.
it.
That's my address."
Ronnie, where can everybody find you?
At on Twitter at Ronny_Barrier, RONNY, Ronnie, and on IGN. I post things all the time. It's hard to know which one is me until my voice pops up, but I'm all over there these days. So come check out some Tiny Tina's Wonderland stuff on our YouTube, and probably Lego Star Wars starting soon.
Yay.
Yep, I'll be playing that too, so I'll have impressions of it.
Yeah, and if you want help in Elden Ring, there are a lot of how-to guides that I've written on, also available on IGN.com. So if you want to know all the stuff you need to do first, like the 7 things you need to do first in the game, check that out. And also where to find all of the legendary summons, legendary spells, all the best spells and weapons, and a bunch of different stuff like that. I've written a ton of pages up there just to help you guys. So if there's something that you're wondering how to do, there's probably a how-to guide on that. So check it out.
And if you're looking for Hollow Knight help, don't ask me because I have no idea what I'm doing.
But then
Go look at
IGN
Brian's guide on
guide.
IGN.com.
Yeah, it'll help you out. And I know actually that Mumjum has used my Hollow Knight guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said he liked it. So
Good deal.
Mumjum in the chat says that's the same combination as my luggage. Amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My God. Yeah. So thank you again, everybody, for listening and or watching. From everybody here at the Platformers, we hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe out there, because until next time, we are out.
Wait.